and Rob McGregor welcome you to a place where all kinds of phenomena flourish. Voices whisper ancient secrets, signs and symbols are abundant. UFOs, ETs, ghosts, and even the dead move about freely. Here we meet authors, researchers, and investigators of the mysterious, the strange, and of the inexplicable anomalies that surround us. Step out of the everyday world and take a journey into the mystical underground.
Welcome to the Mystical Underground. Thank you for joining us. This is Trish McGregor
and Rob McGregor
and our tech magician, John Posey. You can go to themysticalunderground.com where we make regular blog posts and where you can find out about our books. Among them are Phenomena, Harnessing Your Psychic Abilities, The Secrets of Spirit Communication, Sensing the Future, and Aliens in the Backyard. Our latest book is called Mind-Blowing Synchronicities, the latest science stories and research. Trish's most recent novel is White Crows, and Rob's is called Tulpas. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would appreciate it if you would take a second to click the like, subscribe, and notification button so you never miss an episode. If you prefer to listen to the show, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe there. If you're interested in having your astrology chart done, please contact Trish through either the YouTube channel or through the mysticalunderground.com blog.
Okay, all right. Our guest today is Dr. Alex Ling. Alex was born in Vorst, Germany, and followed his family's tradition to become a medical doctor, a general practitioner. But he became disillusioned by the pharmaceutical-dominated healthcare system and chose to pursue a holistic approach to health, emphasizing lifestyle, diet through self-awareness, and spiritual practices. He is also a successful sculptor, a researcher into megalithic sites, and the founder of a healing natural water company called Aquan, A-Q-U-A-N. He also leads adventure travel groups to sacred sites, and he lives in Cornwall, England, with his partner Vivienne. But I think today he is in Mexico. Welcome, Alex.
Hello.
Yeah, you got here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me today. Yes, I am in Bacalar. Actually, I'm in Mexico for the last 4 months.
Oh.
And yes, so I traveled extensively through the whole of Mexico to do my work.
All right.
You speak Spanish?
I understand Spanish, but
that's good.
my way of communicating, I need both my feet and my hands. So
yeah. What are you doing in Mexico?
I'm doing water research. I'm working actually very closely together with the indigenous groups here. And I just of late, over the last 4 days, have spent all the time with the Native Council. And there is a big campaign to promote peace and also to draw awareness to all the waters in the world and how important it is that we as humans are reconnecting to water. And that is mainly my work. So I'm extracting blueprints from all the different waters to see what kind of quality, not just the quality of the waters and what the pollution is, but also it's really a blueprint which tells you so much more about the water. I am following the works of Dr. Emoto, so he was a pioneer, of course, in that work. And I'm using his method, but I have tweaked it and upgraded it to a different level. So we have a lot of special equipment to extract the blueprint, which is from the frozen ice in the Petri dish. And we have a color image, which gives us all sorts of different layers and information connected to that. And
Did you ever meet Emoto? Did you ever meet?
No, I haven't. But I have met some people who studied with him. So I'm in contact with a lot of good scientists as well, conventional and not so conventional. But you need to have an open mind. If you want to really understand the connection we have with water, you cannot just go by numbers. You need to have a spiritual awareness. And only then I really could in-depth study a completely different spectrum of the water.
Yeah, the last couple of days I've been pull out a couple of our older books by
Emoto.
Marco Emoto, The True Power of Water, and also The Secret Life of Water, and reading them over and preparing to talk you about that. So he believes that water carries information. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. We call it actually the consciousness. So we know that water has a consciousness. It can react to certain ways. It can also heal different waters, and I'll go into that in a bit to explain that. But what we do is, I know that Dr. Emoto has used words and also written messages to the water to then establish that the water has a memory. And water indeed has an incredible memory. It memorizes everything which has been put into water. So that can be just from a water point. If it is a lake, any changes on the outside of the lakes, any kind of frequency changes, of course, also the pollution, but also what people who go into the water. So that has been recognized. And we have had beautiful examples in our work where we had people diving, for example, into the deep water sources to collect a bit of water for our blueprints. And very often it's like almost like a photographic image where they show the person who's diving inside the lake. And so they show like the silhouette of the person and all the different colorations, because everybody has different frequencies. And so they're beautiful images, up to very, very detailed information about the lake. So we can see if it is, for example, a portal, as they call it. There are lots of different earth energies are flowing together. There's so much information. I mean, as of lately, working also with the stromatolites, which are in the cenotes here in the lagoons, and there are worldwide, of course, cenotes. And we have just started to do an extensive research on those because they hold, of course, the key to all life. So they were the first organisms who really produced the life form on our planet. And that is also, again, an information which is captured in the water. So we had all sorts of beautiful little microbes which were showing in our blueprints, and also telling the story of life. And there's just so much information. But yes, water has a memory. So it does really remember everything and anything. And it can be like millions of years ago, and it still carries that memory.
What is
Are you writing a book?
Yes, I am actually writing a book right now. So which also will have all the beautiful images inside, and explaining exactly. And there is really a journey from our first blueprints, which we have taken, which were very, very simple. But the deeper our conversation and our connection with water was established, the more complex and the more beautiful those images got.
Can you put one up, John?
John?
I can't. Sorry, I was turned towards the other computer. I couldn't get over to the mute button. Let me try. It's been a minute since I've shared on Zoom, so let's see how this works.
So,
Alex, when you go back to these places, do you feel that the water recognizes you? Look at that.
This is something which I've been talking about actually with the elders just over the last 4 days. Yes, so I explained this very quickly before I answer your question. So this has actually been taken from a very, very special palm tree. And this is from the gardens of a beautiful retreat, which is owned by Dr. Laura, which is in at the ocean, Mexican Ocean in Chacala. And so she loves that tree. It's a beautiful balm tree, and she calls it the mother tree. So we used some water and put the water onto the palm leaves, and then we extracted the water with a syringe, and then we froze the water. And that is actually also a little bit answering your question of memory, because you can see very clearly that the shapes of the structure in the water is like palm leaf-like. So you have this almost feather-like structures, which are also looking like, it looks like a palm tree, or the palm leaves.
Yeah.
And,
are those crystalline?
Yes, they are. Okay. So these are the ice crystals which form this beautiful pattern of this incredible colors. And so this is showing that there's a lot of healing colors in it, like the violet or the purple, and the beautiful blues and turquoises. So that was just an experiment, and we were really pleased that it's shown up so beautiful.
Ah, that's gorgeous.
What's the process that you go through without getting too technical to create that image?
Yes, we have the water. We transport it very, very carefully in a specially sealed container as soon as we have collected it, to avoid any kind of influence from any radiation which is around. For example, Wi-Fi is a big problem, so we want it to be so pure as possible. And we also have now a mobile laboratory which we can actually place at the Laguna or whichever water source where we're going, very close to the water, so we don't have to go for miles on end to the lab. And then what we do is we fill it up into the syringe, and then we fast freeze it. I very often use a cold plate, and on the cold plate we also have the possibility to film the process, and that's something which we have done as well. So in time lapse we were able to determine which colors form first, how many milliseconds it takes. So there's a lot of information which we are harvesting at the moment, and the reason for that is that we are connecting a new computer program to our research, which is then establishing the notes, the musical notes of each color and the lengths. And so we are able to actually create a melody from each water source.
Wow.
Yes. So
that's incredible.
Yes. So we have the visual, but we also have the audio to each sample.
Yeah. You know,
your book, how are you going to put that in your book? You're going to have music in your book.
It would be great, but all the information, we have a separate website which we are working on. It will be available, I think, in 2 weeks, where this is totally dedicated to our research, where people can find also can get the melodies to their water source. That's in a later version, because at this point we're also working globally with water ambassadors who are collecting. Well, not they don't collect it, but people have the chance to send in their water samples. And you have to go on our website to you purchase the kit, and all the funds for that will go into our research because we are self-funding. And so then you can choose the water source of your choice and just simply send it into our office or in our lab, where it gets processed. So, and we have different labs around the world, so where this is going to be done, so it doesn't have to cross borders. And this information is absolutely crucial for the future of our waters. Not only that we know what state the waters are in, but also we can monitor if there's any pollution. So we have a global network, an international network of water guardians who can raise the alarm bells, and we can join together forces against the people who are literally polluting our waters, and can put a stop to it, because that is one of the main reasons that they get away with it, because there's no international body really who is working in favor of the water, and only a few people know about it. Usually some smaller communities who know that the water is polluted. And so it gives us a really good possibility to actively do something to stop it.
Yeah. One more comment about the photo there. Maybe it's my imagination, but at the bottom I see like a head and an eye and a mouth. Snake or a dog or
I thought it looks a bit like a dragon, actually, just looking like
it does. I like that.
A smiling dragon.
Yes,
smiling dragon.
Cool.
And he's got this great headdress, colorful headdress.
Yes, you're right. I actually haven't seen that before, so now I know there's a dragon in it. That's beautiful.
Real quick, as far as the notes or the music of water. I grew up in a little town in northwest Alabama called Muscle Shoals, and the story had been passed down for generations about. And I hope I'm getting the Indian tribe correct. I believe it was the Choctaw that the Tennessee River runs through between Muscle Shoals and another town, Florence, across the river, and the Indian or the Native Americans that were located on the banks of the Tennessee River in that area, they called it the Singing River, so supposedly the reason they moved from northwest Alabama, migrated up into Oklahoma, supposedly because the river stopped singing.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes, I'm very familiar with what the natives call it the Song of Waters, and so that's originating from when the water has touched Earth for the first time. So they call it also the cosmic water. And each river each water source has its own melody. So, and that's why we are so keen to find out more about it. And that's why we're doing the research. We actually have worked together with a group of the natives who are the Laguneros, which are near Mapimi in the zone of silence. And so they originated from the Eretillas. Now the Eretillas have a fascinating background story. They're not here anymore because they disappeared many thousands of years ago. But they were supposed to be half fish and half human, and they lived in the lagunas, which were situated in the desert. And some of the lagoons are still actually existing, like the Quattro Ciénegas, which are 4 lagoons. Excuse me. And each of the shamans would have the ability to sing those songs and would connect to the water, and they would chant to the water, which was raise or keep the energy or the frequency in a certain level so that it harmonizes with our planet, but also with us as humans. And some of these people I just listened to a Mayan shaman just yesterday who was singing a song in Mayan language to the mother tree, and everybody, including me, we were all in tears because it was so moving. We didn't know what the words were meaning, but it was just the frequency, which was just so enchanting. It was just absolutely amazing to be part of this. And they would originally sing to the waters, especially in front of the pyramids, where they are the courtyards, and these courtyards would be filled with waters, and the shaman would stand in the center to sing these songs to the water. And then you have, of course, the echo, which is in some of the places where where the pyramids are still intact. You have 4 different staircases for 4 directions. And it echoes. If you're in the center of the courtyard and clap your hands, it really echoes all around. And so it would be the voice of the shaman would create some cymatics inside the water. and that information would be harvested by everybody who's present. So this is, so this is I've been told this by so many different indigenous people of different groups, and it's so they not only did it with pyramids, but also different megalithic sites. Even in Britain and in Europe, there are certain sites, and there are still stone circles which have standing stones, which are still called the pipers. And the legend is that the pipers would play the flute, and the stone circles, the stone of each stone circle would kind of start to dance like the maidens. And this kind of folklore is widespread through Europe, and it's all the same. So it's there's a lot of things here which connect the water and stone and the melodies or the songs of water. And I think we just have forgotten. And it was not only to create this frequency for the earth and for us humans, but also within that, it was a healing frequency, and it would all keep us very healthy. And I had a talk yesterday with one of the 92-year-old elders of the group I've been part of, and she said, so how do you heal your people? And I said, well, I'm a functional I'm in functional medicine, so I'm a doctor, and I used to use a lot of supplements, but I have stepped away from it because I realized that you don't need to overload your body with hundreds of different supplements. That's the same harmful, actually. Well, not quite, but it can be very difficult for your body to function with so many different supplements. So the first thing you do is you clean your body, and then you introduce maybe 1 or 2 different supplements. But other than that, we had a discussion of how healing water is, and it's really all in the water. So if you have a good source, yes.
I was just going to ask you, what water do you drink? What do you imbibe? What kind of water? I mean,
yes. Well, I personally only have water which is in glass bottles. So I don't use water which is in plastic. Very, very rarely. Sometimes I have no choice because here in Mexico there's very little glass bottles available. So then I go to a spring and then I fill my water up. But I try to avoid on all levels really to avoid drinking water which is not correct. So I understand that many people ask me this question over and over again: how safe is it, and how good is it to drink our tap water? And I think the best way of dealing with tap water is to distill it, and then because when you have distilled water, unfortunately, yes, you get rid of all the toxins, but you also you don't have living water anymore.
Yeah. So in Mexico, travel in Mexico there. So you got to watch out for Montezuma's revenge, which is from drinking the tap water.
Yes, it's
to be avoided.
We never ever drink the tap water. I even have an aversion of bathing or showering with it. So I go to the Laguna because the water is much more safe.
What do the crystals look like from tap water?
It depends. Again, it depends how polluted the water is, but usually you don't get any coloration at all. Really, there isn't any. So
how about filtered water?
Filtered water still can be, but see, it's all to do with the memory. And once it memorizes all the different fluorides and all the chlorine and all this, it's very difficult to get a blueprint which shows any life at all. So it is still, and the worst thing what people can do, and I'm always trying to say that, please do not put your food or your water into the microwave. Really don't, because it destroys everything and anything, all the nutritions and the water. And it's just like a black, dark mass which you absorbing through your food. So that's really not a good thing to do.
What about cooked food, like in an oven? That's okay, right?
Cooked food in an oven is okay. Yes, yeah. So long you don't have this Wi-Fi radiation, then you're okay. But coming back to the distilled water, what you have to do if you use distilled water, please use some Celtic sea salt or some really good salt and just sprinkle a little bit into it to get the minerals back, and that restructures the water immediately.
Huh. The distilled water you're talking about.
Yes, distilled water, which is what many people do when they have tap water. They just distill it.
Yeah. Well, where does water come from originally? What is the origin of water?
I had a discussion of the last few months with some physicists, because I studied astrophysics as well. And so we all came to the agreement that the water definitely not coming just from this planet. So it came from outside in space. And one of the biggest sources in space are quasars. And quasars are incredible celestial bodies within our universe, and they usually coexist. In all cases, we have found that they coexist next to a black hole, but they shine so bright. They have such energetic field, which is absolutely massive, and in their light, they really swallow all different galaxies. I mean, many millions of galaxies around them. So. But the beauty of those quasars is that they have water in space. And people always ask me, well, how can water be in space? And it's not like the water we know, it's water plasma. So water plasma is created soon as you have a certain current going through the water source, and very slowly it creates water plasma. So in space, you have the one of the quasars, for example, has 140 trillion times the amount of water combined of all our oceans in this quasar. So, and the theory is, and it is at this point just a theory because we cannot prove it, but it is a very educated guess, and I think it's one of the most exciting new discoveries that we all believe that the planetary systems are literally born through those quasars and pick up these water sources. And that would also explain why we have these deep water sources from the cenotes going down like 110 meters, in some cases. And these water sources have still a very similar blueprint or makeup as water plasma, especially when it comes to the stromatolites.
What about planets that don't have water? Is there a reason for that? Like Mars?
There is no planet which has no water. Even our sun has water. And that's something which is very confusing because people need to really research that. So if you look at the atmosphere, and so long there is some form of atmosphere, it will have water. And so there are even some people who believe that there is still ice somewhere deep within the moon, for example. If the moon, there are different theories about the moon. Some people believe it's not a real object. So, but I just go with what I know best. And so even on the sun, even within the plasma of the sun, there is water.
I believe I'm pretty sure we found evidence of, and the thing is, it's usually frozen water, but I'm pretty sure we've certainly on the caps of Mars, but also asteroids that we might have only found frozen water.
Oh, absolutely. They carry the water. Yes, absolutely. And some of that water also came to our planet that way. So additionally, so you're very right.
It'd be fascinating to see what kind of memory like water in outer space has.
It's a shame that I haven't got the sample here. I sent you only a few others, which I would like to comment on if that's okay. But
yeah, that's great.
So we have found in the zone of silence, it's a huge magnetic field. And the zone of silence is known for this magnetic field, especially around the mountain of San Ignacio, which is an extinct volcano. And So around San Ignacio, there's this huge attraction. It's also a UFO hotspot. And I can actually say that we have seen an incredible light show while we were inside the desert, and we stayed there for a few days, and we camped out, and we have taken a lot of footage from very unusual orbs and very unusual sightings we had within that zone. But also it's a magnet for meteorites. So we found a lot of those on the ground, and there's one specific area where you literally, it's totally littered with tiny broken up pieces of meteorite. And so we collected some, and then we put the meteorite inside a petri dish, and we poured some local water from a spring over it. And then we took the blueprint. It was absolutely mind-blowing. The coloration, I never seen anything like it. It looked like some really psychedelic picture from the 70s. It was just so vibrant. And the shapes and forms were very geometric. And so it was very, very interesting to see the difference. So yes, I can only imagine what if it would be possible to collect a sample from the quasar. I would be well up for it to see what would happen. But this one here, the blueprint in front of me, is now the blueprint of the Laguna in Bacalar. And it's a beautiful, beautiful image of what I showed it actually just 2 days ago for the first time to the elders. And they were absolutely certain that the winged phoenix, which you can see, they call it the phoenix, is holding the memory and is protecting the Laguna. So for them, it was something really quite special. And they also said, yeah, it's like the eye. Every portal is an eye. And I said, yes. And they said, if you look from the sky, from out of space even, then you can see that all the cenotes look like eyes. And that's why these ancient sources are very often called the eye. So they said deep knowledge, which makes you wonder sometimes, like when they called all the waters cosmic oceans. I mean, they were so advanced at some point beyond our understanding. And so they were definitely not the primitive people here. I think we are definitely the primitive people because we have lost so much of that knowledge and their ability to forecast things by just the movement of the stars and just being in nature and reading nature is just absolutely amazing. So it's a completely different world. So if we can reconnect those two worlds, I think then we have a very good future. And that's what we're hoping to do with this, all the work we're doing, really. So this is the Laguna from Bacalar, and it's showing.
Do the elders drink from this lagoon?
They do if they're there. And actually, we have a ceremony tonight between 4 and 5 at the Laguna with the elders. And I asked them if they would be so very kind to collect some water, so I can extract the blueprint from the elders, from their energetic blueprint and the water. And they're happy to do that. So that's a really, really special honor for me to do that. And if they agree, then I will share that out with people, but I have to ask for permission, of course. So that's something else. We are very, very respectful in all our work which we're doing. We always asking the water if we are allowed to take the blueprint before we do it. It's all about harmony. It's all about balance, and it's mainly about respect. And that's what I learned. So I had to really adjust my scientific mind, and I had to learn to go a little bit deeper, quite a lot deeper actually, to understand water as well. Because sometimes we have experiences within the Laguna because the elders know that they call them the beings of the Laguna, the guardians, and they're existing inside the lagoon. So and they lived for thousands of years in harmony with those. And I can only say that since I have adapted my mindset slightly to these to that belief, and I honor the way they work with water, and I adapted to it. My research has been showing completely different blueprints. So it is really true.
What do you mean by the term cosmic ocean?
Again, the cosmic ocean is originating from the quasars, and all the indigenous people without fail around the world call the bodies of water cosmic oceans, or it's coming from the cosmic ocean. So, and that is, as I said, it's very interesting because taking into account that we just found out about it, that our science is way behind, and now we're learning really where the water is coming from, but we still don't fully understand what water is, because yes, it has a formula, and we can kind of pinpoint it that way, but we really don't understand its origin. And I think it's so complex, seeing that we are also vessels of waters ourselves, and we are literally walking water vessels, and the impact it has on our lives as well. I mean, life is created. We're all born in water. Not born, sorry. We're all created in water in the womb. So we are used to water. We are water creatures, if you like. So there's so much more to it, and most people don't understand it at all, and they just see water as something you can drink to quench his thirst. But I think if we really fully want to understand life and creation, then we have to really go deep down into understanding water. Everything resonates with us, everything, and that's why stress has such an impact on us, on our health as well. Because
but do you think eventually, we talk about stress, but I mean, do you think eventually water will be able, through your research, you'll be able to cure certain ailments with certain types of water?
Yeah, absolutely. I know so. I absolutely know so, because we have seen that water plasma can actually alter your DNA, and the same as bad water or bad substances which we consume also can alter our DNA to our disadvantage. So that's why it is so important that we are paying a lot more attention to what we're eating and what we're drinking.
Real quick, just to back to the kind of back to the cosmic, I guess the cosmic. What was it? Cosmic ocean. Concept. So I mean, would you expect that if we could land a probe on an asteroid and bring a sample back to Earth to examine it, because that's like an organic interstellar probe. What would your so is really, when you say memory, is it just memory of where it was conceived, what it was born out of, or is it collecting, or would we get some idea of where that water's been,
actually all waters, even within our body, because we have spinal fluid, which also contains water plasma. So in a way, all the information we have is right within us. We are still connected to that blueprint, of origin of life. So, but yes, if you would have an asteroid, it would be still part of that original blueprint, but it is not the origin. So to find out really where the origin is, that would be, in my guess, the furthest I know is the quasar itself. But it might be that behind the quasar is another firmament and another source of water. Who knows? and that is very, very complex. And maybe it's an infinite kind of it's like the cenotes. They have different levels. And the stromatolites are the creators of our life here on this planet, but they're not the creators of the water. So that's why you have to go further and further and further. So I guess, yes, if you could have a sample of the quasars, I think we would be as close to creation as possible. But I do believe, what I just said, that we all carry that specific blueprint, because in the moment of conception, it is the same energy, the same frequency as the creation of it all. So, and I think if you get close to building a bridge between the water and fully understanding the water and where water comes from, then we also will understand where we came from and who we are.
So I guess it could almost maybe kind of be compared to geology, like when we study the different strata of rock formations, and we can kind of trace back the history of the planet through that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a process, because all these kind of historical events are stored as information even in rock. And I've proven that when I was doing my work with the megalithic sites in Cornwall in the UK, where we have recorded sounds from the megalithic site, from a stone circle. And we could prove that there was a record within that sound, which most likely carries all the information of everything around it happened since it was been built, and maybe even before, because the rock is of course a lot older than that. So there are certain ways how we can extract this information, but I think we have to start somewhere to really fully understand. So I pushed the stones aside slightly, because the water was giving me a lot more information, and it was much easier to read those images. And at the moment, the information is going to the point that water is like a child. It just takes on everything you put in it. So it's really like absorbing all the information, all the frequencies. It doesn't care if it is good or bad, because it doesn't know the difference. But some of the very original water sources which I have access to, showing a different communication pattern. And that's why I'm here in Bacala still, because I noticed over the last hundreds or so blueprints which I've taken, that the water started to form letters inside the crystallization.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And
so it's communicating through written.
Exactly. So it started to communicate, and it has written also a word, not just one word, a few words, which is really it's very interesting. One of our assistants has, for example, asked, what is water? What is water? Is it HO2? And then it came back with a different formula, and it was HO3. And so it's really fascinating. And I think we're just tapping into something which never has been studied before. And it's almost like you're talking to an intelligence.
It's fascinating.
Well, now, so let's say at some point somebody could come to you and say, okay, I have cancer, or I have whatever, lymphoma or something. Do you think at some point somebody will be able to say, okay, I want you to drink water from this source that will cure you or heal you?
Yes, we already been there, especially in Victorian times. It was very fashionable to go to different water sources and have a water spa. And we know that certain water sources, springs, if they're holy springs or healing springs, had certain minerals inside which were good for certain conditions, for arthritis or so on. And we just kind of detached ourselves again from that. So, wow! I just got a bee on my finger.
Oh,
yes, no.
He had
it's
something
okay.
to tell you.
She just kind of went into a little Okay, she's okay. So
are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I wasn't quite sure what it was because we do have scorpions here, so I wasn't quite sure what was landing on my head. So
Alex, I would like to ask you a question again, going back to the megalithic structures, since you studied them in the past, and did you come up with any theories on how these were built, how they were moved? I mean, tons and tons of
like Stonehenge, you mean? Or
yeah, right. How are they moved from great distances to? I think like Stonehenge, didn't the blue stones
came from Wales.
Wales, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so which is quite a distance. Yes, so there are endless theories about it, and I do agree. I as a sculptor, I know how time-consuming it is to cut a stone, especially when it comes to huge megalithic sites, or the structures of pyramids. And I'm still kind of struggling with that. But I had an interesting conversation with someone who also is into, it's more than a theory because it has been proven that you can use frequencies and sounds to lift certain weights.
Yeah.
And there are certain tribes as well and indigenous people who would use, especially the flute was a very, very common instrument to use. And they would have very large instruments as well, like horns. But I think that is a very good possibility that there was a different understanding of gravity and that you could interfere with that gravity to a way that you can levitate certain materials. So see, I'm not ruling this out as well because it makes sense. And I've seen people in experiments using even small stones weighing 50 kilograms and lifting them just a few millimeters off the ground, but it was possible with just pure frequency.
Wow.
But now, are you familiar with Marcahuasi, Peru?
Sorry?
Are you familiar with a place called Marcahuasi, Peru?
I haven't been there, but
okay, but you've heard of it.
I heard of it, but I'm telling you that I've been invited to Peru. That's one of the next destinations on my list, and I'm actually teaming up with Shule, which is she's working with she's from Canada and she's working with all the indigenous people in Peru. So I've been invited to come there.
Oh wow!
Oh,
that's
yeah. There's some amazing megalithic structures in Peru,
14 or 15,000 feet.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and also very near Cusco, these walls.
Yes, yeah,
enormous, and they're not. The cuts of the stones are at different angles, and they fit perfectly together with
laser
nothing.
Cut.
Yeah. The flute cut.
Yes, that's right. There's so many things which we really don't understand, like the tunnels. There are so many tunnel systems. I've seen them myself in Turkey, for example, and I mean, we would have to have a show for 10 hours at least to even explain these alone. But there's so much technology which has been used in ancient times, which we do not have any records from, or let's say maybe some of the records have been hidden from us. And I know that too, for sure, because my father was very much active in certain ways and involved in the process of shifting some of the artifacts out of sight so that people would hide them away and not know about it, especially when it comes to artifacts which are slightly telling a different story of our history. And soon as they have something which just doesn't fit into the story, that's when they just don't show it in public at all. and they usually ending up in someone's living room from someone who's wealthy enough to purchase them. So, but yes, there's so much deception and so many lies as well about our history, which I uncovered myself on my journey, meeting also archaeologists, and I've seen how corrupt this world is. So I've been also come into trouble a few times because I was asking the wrong questions, all the right questions for me, but not the right questions for them.
Yeah.
So, and even in Göbekli Tepe, I mean, we know that there were some tunnel systems connecting the Göbekli Tepe site, for example, with Karahan Tepe and so on. And these tunnels would go to the Tigris, and now that the water levels are so low at the Tigris, they would have access to these tunnels, and these tunnels would have this humming sound, which people were noticing who lived in the area. So, and the government would, instead of investigating it and finding out what kind of frequencies, because these are like, again, the frequencies which go into the river of the Tigris. So there's certain tunnel systems, like instruments, which have been created specifically for that reason.
Man-made tunnels?
They are made, so they say, man-made tunnels, yes, carved in a specific way, so they would create this sound. And they have been closed. They have been shut down. They've been sealed off, and in so many ways it's been done that way. And even Klaus Schmidt, the lead archaeologist of Göbekli Tepe, who died in 2014, he was, until his death, trying to preserve the tunnel systems of Göbekli Tepe. And then just before his death, I think it was a year beforehand, they just filled it up with concrete.
Wow.
So nobody could ever investigate.
Was his death natural? Was his death natural?
Well, I think there's a bit of question mark, but he died quite suddenly. And so some people speculate that maybe it wasn't quite natural, but who knows?
Just real quick, because a theory I'd heard not too long ago, relatively recently, was when it comes to the pyramids, how did they move those blocks around? And just, I don't know, maybe in the last 2 years, I'd heard someone suggest that they floated the blocks around, or the stone pieces, and potentially even used water to get them up into position for placement on the within the pyramid, kind of like the tunnels you were describing a minute ago.
Yes.
So but that did pique my interest when you said that, because that's the second time I've heard that in the last couple of years, that potentially, I mean, because it's totally anti-intuitive that you would float stone around, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
Yeah.
And Alex, could that be related to like Emoto's Hado principle?
Yes, I mean, and even Victor Schauberger has proven that just by using the right vortices and following the principles of nature, that you can actually let logs float up into, they don't just flow down, you can also push them against the stream up to a high level. So there's so many ways, which we still don't understand fully, but I'm working with a scientist who also is forming some free energy through a hydro device, and that is absolutely possible. If you look at water plasma, for example, I think it's very possible that you can, I mean, this is going now into real science, and but we have established that you can use water plasma as a form of a GPS system. And if and if you, for example, would have a spacecraft, then you would use also water plasma as a fuel, and that is very possible. And if you program that fuel, that plasma, with that specific blueprint, then you would be automatically connecting to that blueprint, which is here on Earth, which could be any location. And that way you would have a very accurate GPS system, but also a very, very fast possibility to travel. And we're talking, I mean, really like time travel as well. So there's so many possibilities here, which are
now. Have you gone to the Amazon and taken samples from that river?
I will take also Titicaca. So we have also go to that lake as well. So we have a few points where we're going, a few river systems from the Amazon. So yes, and we are really excited to go. I mean, it would take years to do all the rivers and all the water sources in Peru, but we are. That's why we're building up this network of water guardians and water ambassadors, so that we have quicker access. Because I mean, I'm getting on a bit now, so I have to find people who support me in their work, and it was I travel quite a lot, and I haven't seen my home in 4 months. So I'm trying really to get as much done as possible. And there's so many possibilities. I'm working with also a rocket scientist who also is totally convinced that water plasma is the answer to our fuel problem. And there's so many things which we can do if you fully understand that.
Yeah, I think
How are you going to write this book? This is so complex. I mean, what are you going to focus on?
I think the first book is just purely about our indigenous ancestors and our water connection, and how we need to really reconnect, and showing the blueprints and explaining the blueprints. And you have seen, for example, one of the blueprints which had a volcano on it, like a drawing almost, and this is purely really from the ice and photographed, and that was just a couple of days before the Indonesian volcano was erupting. So that was really interesting. So I think there is all this information, future, past, and present events, stored in the water, and definitely also the future. So, and of course it would know, because it's connected to all the volcanoes, right? So it knows which volcano is going to be active, and also we know that the indigenous people had knowledge to the solar cycles very, very much. So they knew which events would occur. And that's why very often they would relocate in higher positions if there was any tsunami or any kind of big major event. And that was my talk, which I gave over the last year, talking about the solar activity and how it impacted us 14,000 years ago. Because we now know that there is this connection between the major solar event and the Great Flood.
Yeah, you have
so it's like precognitive water.
Yeah. You have a lot of knowledge in a variety of subjects, but you're a medical doctor, and I would think that the healing aspect would be of particular interest. There was a story in Emoto's book, I think it was the last one he did, that his own experience, he had an injury flare up in his ankle from
rugby. It was a rugby injury.
From rugby. And the scientist he was working for gave him some water to put it in some water, and the pain went away, and the swelling and the pain went away. I mean, I think
yes.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, and again, it has to do with our connection to water. So we can really literally, I mean, there were so many experiments which he did of also waters which weren't well or were polluted, and where he asked people to meditate and to send love to these waters and all the positive intention. And you can literally, we have done that too. We had for example, I explained that very quickly because it's quite important. We had 2 different water samples. One was from Lake Chapala. Lake Chapala is highly polluted, and people making jokes about it. If you put your finger in it, you will lose everything except your bone. So, and it is actually quite sad, because all the pollution from 3 rivers is going into the lake, and it's for the indigenous people a really, really important place. So, but the water is heavily polluted. It didn't show nice colors at all. It was very gray, very smudgy, and it had just like a tiny, tiny glimpse of not even a centimeter in the center, which had a slight faint coloration. So what we did is we used a different healing water, which was coming from a very strong source, a very healthy source, just not very far away. So we placed the two petri dishes next to each other and introduced the water. So then we froze it, and I asked specifically the water, which was the healing water, can you please heal the water right next to you? And what happened then is something extraordinary. We took one picture before I asked the question, and then one picture which was taken just after I asked the question. And the next thing is that the healing water, which had all these beautiful colorations, was blank. It was blank, completely blank. There was not a single bit of color. But the next one, the petri dish which was next to it, which was from the compromised water, suddenly started to show all the colorations.
Jeez.
So it reset itself to a point so that it could help the other water. Now that is a very selfless act, and it's something which I have never seen before. And we repeated it 5 times, the same waters, and it was always the same.
Wow.
So and we are still studying it, and we're still trying to understand actually what happened here. But it is a beautiful act of love. And so coming back,
that's got to be in your book. That is a great story.
Yes.
And just real quick, because and appreciate Alex you spending the time with us, but we're going 6 minutes over. Nigel, apparently Nigel is not doing his
Nigel
job.
was in here.
He already did. All right. Hey, so Nigel's usually the timekeeper on the podcast,
right? Yeah,
but I think whatever we call this podcast, it will be part 1 because there needs to be a part 2.
Yes. This is just great.
This is fascinating. How can people contact you or find out more about the water?
Samples of water.
Yes. We have the best way is really on the website, and there is a email address as well. And the website is just Aquan, is AQUAN.com. And if you type it in, and there's you can leave a message. That's the easiest way. So because our website is a bit overloaded at the moment because our products are actually sold out. And so we're just trying to cope with it. Our products are based on structured water, and we're using frankincense, myrrh, and gold, which we have made water soluble in a very, very lengthy process. And so we're the only company who does that. And that's really worked very well from coming from especially working with clients who have cancer. That was very, very a personal importance to me because I had 2 friends who had cancer. And so yes, it's still a long way to go, but at some point I know that we can have a blueprint of the water which can be introduced into our water, and it will heal us. And I think it's very possible.
I just have one final.
Fascinating.
I just have one final question, as personal one. I drink a lot of sparkling water. You think that's okay for you?
Again, it depends if it is carbonated in a natural way or if it is carbonated artificially. So some springs have a very mild sparkling naturally, and that is actually quite good. And also tastes a little bit more salty, which is also good for your body. But if it is too much, then it can be actually not very good for your gut system.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start drinking only distilled water.
or just go to a spring, because they are still around, and people saying, but how do I find it? But usually, I mean, even in Britain, we have numerous springs. People know about it.
Zephyr Hills, Trish.
Here.
But please don't take it.
There's a lot of
don't use the spring water if it is connected to any agricultural kind of area, because then you get things in there which you really shouldn't have. If it is pesticides
Still water.
or animal feces or something, So get sure it's a clean source. But try, if you buy water from the supermarket in plastic bottles and you don't have any other choice, then decounter it into something which is a better container than the plastic, because then you have all the leaking kind of chemicals as well.
How about metal?
The steel, well, see, steel steals. So don't put it into anything which is steel. Ceramic is good, or glass. Just get a glass bottle. Could be an empty wine bottle, even if you don't have anything else. Just clean it out and then just pour the water and then leave it in there. Okay.
How about aluminum?
Sorry?
Aluminum. How about aluminum?
Aluminum. Yes. That's okay.
Is that
too.
All right?
Yeah, that's fine. So just be sure that you don't keep the water in complete darkness. That's why I always say, just use the bottle, because so many people think that sunlight is not good for water. It's completely the opposite. Sunlight is essential for water.
Wow. Thank you very much.
All my water is going into the sun.
We'd like to have you back.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we'd love to have you back.
Especially
Alex.
when you have your book coming out. That'll be great. We'll be happy to talk to you about the book.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. It was a pleasure to meet you all and speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll send you the link. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye.